Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 2, Week 4, Tutor and Memory Work Ideas. I'm excited to share with you some fun ideas you can use as a tutor with your homeschool group or at home too. A lot of these I do both with my little group that I tutor, and I also do some of them at home with my kids. So you can use these ideas however you want. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschool mom with 3 little ones, 6, 4, and 2. And we have done classical homeschooling for the past 4 years and love it. So I get to tutor the obesitarians in our homeschool group. That's the 4 through sometimes 7-year-olds. And I absolutely love it, and I love sharing my ideas. I hope these are helpful for you. I want to share with you real quick too. I've shared these before, so I'll be super fast, but just in case you haven't seen these resources I have made for Cycle 2. First, this Cycle 2 Memory Work Activity Book just has a fun, simple activity for each subject, all 24 weeks of Cycle 2. Just a really great resource to have at home and use with your kids. You can check this more out. I will link below in the description if you haven't seen this. Also, this European Countries Workbook is a great way to dive deeper into Europe this year. There is a page for every European country. So for example, this is Serbia. So you've got where it is in Europe. They can color a zoomed in image of it, animal, meal, flag, fun fact. So it's been really fun for my kids to learn more about the European countries since Cycle 2 focuses on Europe heavily in geography. And then also with geography, I have made these little Cycle 2 passports, which have been so fun for my kids to use so far. So there is a page for each geography week of the memory work. It matches with the Cycle 2 memory work, and you can also print the little stamps that the kids can stamp each week as they learn the geography. So you can check all these out in my shop. I will link it below. One more thing, I wanted to show you these placemats I made. So far I have the first quarter done, so the first 6 weeks, but I will have the next quarter done soon, maybe even when you watch this video, so check my description below. I have history on one side and then science on the other. So I made these as just a way to dive deeper into the history and science at home with your kids. So another fun Cycle 2 resource. Also, make sure you stick around to the end of this video because I have another fun game that you can use with your kids this week at home. So I will share that at the end. All right, we are going to start with geography again. I like to start with geography because I use these maps. These are the Trivium table maps from the Classical Conversations bookstore. You could also just laminate the maps that they provide on CC Connected and the Sandbox e-zine too. I like to prep these beforehand with dry erase marker. So I just highlighted each of the rivers because we're learning about the European rivers this week. So I will hand a map out to each child, and I will also give them a little fish figurine. So I just found these somewhere, I don't remember, but I will link them in my blog post. But you could use goldfish, you could use any kind of little fish thing. And it's just fun for the kids to have something to point to the rivers with. You could use anything, or you could just have them point, but it's fun to have a little thing. Things like this I let the kids take home too. So we are learning about the Seine River, Rhine River, Elbe River, Po River, Danube River, and Volga River here. All right, I'm going to tell the kids a little story. They're going to use their little fishies. And I'm going to say, all right, our little fishy is swimming through the English Channel, and then he enters into the Seine River in France where he sees a fast train rushing by. Just like Seine flows through Paris, French trains zoom by through France. Seine sounds like train, so I'll have them repeat. Seine River, just like train, Seine. Then he's going to jump over to the Rhine River. And so he's gliding past castles and hills covered in vines. The Rhine is famous for its vineyards and wine. Rhine sounds like vine. So let's say Rhine River, just like vine. So we've got the Seine, the Rhine. Now he's going to jump over to the Elbe River, where bells are ringing in the old city of Dresden. Elbe sounds like bell. Let's say Elbe, like bell. Then he makes his way down to Italy, where he slips into the Po River. And this is where farmers grow wheat for pizza dough and rice for creamy risotto. The Po Valley is Italy's farmland. Po sounds like dough. Let's say Po River. Dough, Po. Now, swimming across the Adriatic Sea, he makes his way to the Danube River, where he hears a band playing tubas and violins. Vienna, along the Danube, is home to the Blue Danube Waltz. Danube sounds like tuba. Danube, tuba. All right, finally he makes his way to the long Volga River in Russia, where children are playing volleyball along the riverbank. The Volga is the longest river in Europe and an important part of Russian life. Volga sounds like volleyball. Volga, volleyball. So I'll tell that story to the kids, have them follow along with their little fishy. Next, I'm going to teach them a song to the tune Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and it goes like this. European rivers, Seine, Rhine, Elbe, Po, Danube, and Volga River. European rivers, Seine, Rhine, Elbe, Po, Danube, and Volga River. So we'll sing that a couple times, and then I will quiz them and say, okay, who can tell me where the vines were? Who remembers where the fishy was, where there were lots of vines? And hopefully they'll remember, oh, Rhine River, Rhine, vine, and we'll talk about that is the Orange River right here. And what countries does that go through? This would be a great way to review some of the countries you've learned. And then, okay, which river do we talk about pizza dough? Who remembers that? Where was pizza dough? Dough, Po, okay? What country does the Po River go through? So, great way to review. I always review geography stuff while they have their maps out. It's just so much easier. They're looking at their maps. Not that we don't review geography at the end, but super easy to review stuff. You don't have to review everything, but just, some of the C's that we learned and some of the countries that we learned last week. So that is geography. For English this week, we are learning about the nominative pronouns. We will be learning different pronouns for the next few weeks through week 13. So I will link below. I have a song that sings all the pronouns to the tune Here We Go Loop-de-Loo. And I am also making hand motions, simple hand motions, that the kids can do to the song too. They're the same hand motions that they do to the song Here We Go Loop-de-Loo, but we're just going to do them to our pronouns. So I have a video of that too. I will link that below. I'm not going to do the entire song right now. I'm just going to do this week. But if you want to see the entire song, you can look at my video in the description. So I will first kind of show the kids the nominative pronouns on my tutor board. And then I'll have them stand up and I'll say, okay, we're going to sing a song together. And I will maybe model it for them first, and then I'll have them sing along with me and do the little hand motions as we sing a few times. So it goes like this. Nominative pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Nominative pronouns. And then we'll keep doing that next week with objective pronouns, but I'm not going to do it right now. Again, if you want to see my whole video, I will link both videos of just the song and then the song with the hand motions in the description. But my plan is to add to it each week. So like next week, we'll still sing the nominative pronoun part, and then we'll add on the objective pronouns. So this week will be pretty short. I'm not going to do more than this because we're going to add on each week, but we'll do it in different kind of voices. So we'll sing it normally first, and then I'll have them sing it in quiet voices. So nominative pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Nominative pronouns. And then I'll have them whisper. And then I'll have them sing it in a loud voice just to have them do it several times. So that is English. For timeline this week, I have my timeline cards. I get these from Classical Conversations bookstore. They're an awesome resource. I highly recommend them. And then I put these Dollar Tree letters on each one just because the kids in my group are younger and some of them can't read yet. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm still going to put 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall before our class time even begins, but I'm not going to hide them around the room this time. Instead, I'm going to have us all come sit on the floor in a circle, and I'm going to give each child a timeline card. And if you have, a small group of kids, you could give each one several timeline cards. If you have a lot of kids, like more than 7, then you could team up some of them for one timeline card. So once we are sitting down in a circle and everybody's holding their timeline card, I am going to go over the timeline events in order. So first I'll say, okay, the first timeline event is early Native Americans. Early. What does early start with? Oh, E. Yeah, who has the card with an E? And then, Tommy will hold it up. Tommy, yay! Okay, so early Native Americans. Let's all do the motion for early Native Americans. We start at the corner of our mouth and go up to our ear like this. So early Native Americans. All right, so Tommy, can you put your card face up in the center of our circle on the floor? So I'll have him put it on the floor, face up. Then we'll do the next event. All right, the next one is Israel divides into 2 kingdoms. Israel, what does Israel start with? Oh, ooh, an I, awesome. Okay, Jenny, good job, you have that one. Now let's do the motion for this one, and then we'll put your card in the middle of our circle face up on the floor. So we'll do the motion for that one. Then we'll keep going until all the timeline cards are face down in the middle of our circle. Then what I will do is I'll tell the kids to, okay, I want you to study the cards. So I'll spread them out so we can see all of them. Look at them really hard because I'm going to take one away in a minute. And then once they've studied them, I'm going to tell them all to close their eyes, don't peek, and I'm going to put one behind my back. All right, now everybody can look. Which card did I take away? And see if anybody can figure it out. You can give them a hint if they're struggling. But, ooh, I took away Homer and Hesiod. All right. So maybe whoever guessed that or whoever's card that was, you can have them put the card on the right spot on the wall. So again, I will have 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall. Homer and Hesiod is the 3rd event. So you could have, Tommy go stick it up on the 3rd piece of painter's tape. Then we'll do it again. So I'll say, all right, everybody close their eyes again. And I'm going to pick one, put it behind my back, see who guesses what it is, have them put it up on the wall. Then once all the cards are up on the wall, I will have all the kids go stand in front of the cards and we will do the timeline motions together a few times. For the motions this week, we're going to start with early Native Americans like I did. So we're going to start at our mouth and go to our ear. So early Native Americans. And then Israel, we're going to make an I. So Israel divides like that. Divides into 2 kingdoms. Homer and Hesiod, we're going to make an H like this. Homer and Hesiod. And then Rome founded, we're going to make an R. So Rome founded, and then make another R by Romulus and Remus. And then another I for Israel. Israel falls to Assyria, like a bow and arrow. Assyria. Assyria falls. We're going to make a law, so an L for Babylon, so like that. And then we're going to make a P and go Lao Tzu, Confucius, and then you can either do it a 3rd time for Buddha, or my community likes to go Buddha. So I'll do it one more time singing the tune. Early Native Americans, Israel divides into 2 kingdoms. Homer and Hesiod, Rome founded by Romulus and Remus. Israel falls to Assyria. Assyria falls to Babylon. Lao Tzu, Confucius, Buddha. That is timeline this week. For math this week, we are skip counting the 7s and the 8s. So first for the 7s, I am going to print out these beautiful watercolor skip counting signs. I use these at home with my kids. This week I'm going to print them out for all the kids to use as a little template to jump from the numbers. So these are made by Kimberly Beely. I'll link her shop below, but I love her memory work cards. So what we will do is I will sing the 7 songs for the kids, give them each a little eyeball ring like this, and we're gonna touch each of the 7s as we sing our song with our little eyeball ring. So it goes like this. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70, 77, 84, 91, 98, 100, 5. So we'll do that one time and then we'll sing it again, but super slow this time. So we'll go 7, 14, and then you can sing it again and go a little bit faster. You can sing it again and have your eyeballs jump from each one, different things like that. So that's the 7s, and then for the 8s, we are going to use our action cards. I've shown these before in my past videos, but these are great to print. You can download them for free and laminate them if you want, and then just reuse them almost every week. At least I do. And silly voice cards too. They're just really handy to have in your tutor bag. Pull them out. You can use them with any of the memory work. First, I will sing the 8s normally to the kids. So it goes like this. 8, 16, 24, and 32, 40, 48, 56, and 64, 72, 80, 88, and 96. 104, 112, 120. And then I'll give each of the kids a movement card and we will sing the 8s as we do the different movements. So, for example, bear crawl. We'll bear crawl on the floor as we sing. Touch your toes. We'll stand and touch our toes as we sing. Jump from side to side, etc. So that's math. For history this week, we are going to do silly words again. And so on my tutor board, I will have the history sentence written up, and a lot of the kids can read at least a little bit. So it will say, English King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215, etc. So I will have that written up, and I will tell the kids that we are going to sing it normally. They can sing with me or just listen and follow along on my tutor board. And then I'm going to throw some silly words in, and they have to raise their hand if they hear a silly word and tell me what it should be. All right, so the normal song goes like this that I'll sing to them before I throw silly words in. English King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215, limiting the king's power. Later, England's king, Edward III, claimed to be King of France, and began the 100 Years' War in 1337. You could also play the classical conversation song too if you don't want to sing it. But now I'm going to sing it and throw some silly words in. So I tell them, if you hear a silly word, raise your hand and tell me what it is. So I will start like this. English King John signed the Mango Carton and what? Mango carton? No, what should it be? Oh, Magna Carta. Okay. So then I go to the beginning of the song and I sing it the correct way until the next silly word. So, English King John signed the Magna Carta in 1215, limiting the king's shower. Shower? No, what should it be? Oh, king's power. So again, I'll go back to the beginning, sing it correctly until the next silly word. So one reason I like this is I sing it correctly a lot, because I'm doing it each time until the next silly word. And they just love it. They get a kick out of this. It doesn't get old. So the silly words I used are mango carton instead of Magna Carta, shower instead of power, bee instead of third, fries instead of France, and bears instead of years. Again, you could just make them up on the fly or you could use those, but super fun. That is history this week. For science this week, we are learning about producers, consumers, and decomposers. So what I'm going to do is I have this dice again that has little sleeves that you can put printouts in. And so I have a picture collage with some producers and then some consumers and then some decomposers. And I have 2 of each, so it covers all 6 sides of the dice. You could also just write those words, but I kind of wanted pictures because it'll make more sense what we're going to do next. We're going to play a little game. So first I'm going to show them on my tutor board the 3 words, and I'll probably draw at least 1 picture of each one on my tutor board so they can see just an example. I'll say really quickly what each one means, and then I'm going to teach them a song to the tune Oh Susanna, and it goes like this. What are some parts of the food chain? Producer, consumer, decomposer. What are some parts of the food chain? Producer, consumer, decomposer. So we'll sing that a few times and then I'll say, all right, we're going to play a game. I have these printouts of just different pictures of consumers or producers or decomposers. And I'm going to mix them up and spread them out on the table. And then the kids get to take turns rolling this big die. I have a whiteboard, or you could just, make a little sign that says producer, consumer, decomposer, and have the kids tape the papers up under the appropriate column. I'm going to have them tape them up to my whiteboard under the appropriate column, but you can make columns on the wall if you need to. So for example, Tommy will roll the die and say he lands on this side, and we'll talk about, what do these look like? What do you guys think? Ooh, they look like producers. So then he will come to the table and pick a picture of a producer. And I have an option with the titles on them or not, depending on, how hard you want to make it for your kids. For little kids, I'm going to keep the title on. So they'll look for a producer and then they will go tape it up on the whiteboard. This would be a great time to get some help from a parent. Maybe the parents can have little, pieces of painter's tape ready for the kids to tape the papers up on the wall so you're not taking too much time. So then another kid will roll and say they land on consumers. So they will pick a picture of a consumer up from the table and tape it to the appropriate spot. This doesn't have to take very long. You can just have each kid take a turn rolling the die, but just a fun way to visualize what the different consumers, producers, and decomposers are. And so once you have some pictures up in each column, you can just take a moment to look at them with the kids and talk about the different animals or plants or what they see, like, ooh, that looks like bacteria, or that looks like mushrooms under decomposers. So you can also use this at home too. This would be a fun game to play with your kids at home. That is science this week. For Latin this week, we are continuing to do the first conjugation verb endings imperfect tense. So, bam, ba, spot, bama, spata, spot. And what I'm going to do, this is one of my favorite games to play with the kids, is I'm going to have us all stand up, especially since we've heard these Latin endings last week as well. So we're all going to stand up, and I'm going to have the kids, or just one volunteer, tell me which ending I can circle on my tutor board. So say they say boss. Okay, I'm going to circle that one. So whenever we sing boss, and we sing each one twice in our song, whenever we sing it, we're going to sit down. And then the next time we sing it, we're going to stand up again. So we got to change our position every time we sing the circled one. Okay, so we're all going to start standing up. I'm kind of squatting, but get the idea. We're going to start standing up, and we'll say, bom, boss. We're going to sit down. Bot, bama, spata, spot. Bom, boss. Stand up again. Bot, bama, spata, spot. First conjugation, imperfect tense. So then I'll have them tell me another one I can circle. So how about botus? So now every time we sing either of the circled endings, so boss or botus, we will change our position. So we'll all start standing, and then when we sing one of those circled ones, we'll sit and we'll stay seated until we sing another circled one, then we'll stand, stay standing until we sing another circled one, then sit. Get the idea. So every time we do it, I'm going to have us circle another ending, and then by the end, all the endings will be circled, and we'll be sitting, standing, sitting, standing, sitting, standing, and it's just so fun. It always ends in a bunch of people laughing. It's just good movement. The kids are like, whew, good exercise, really fun. Works really well for Latin or skip counting. So that is Latin this week. For review this week, we are going to play our Stinky Feet game again because the kids loved it, and it's just a great way to review. So I shared this last week, but you can download this game for free from my blog post I'll link below. You basically can just print out the Stinky Feet sign, and then these little feet go around it, as you can see. Some of the feet have negative values, some of them have positive values. So they're in increments of 5, so from negative 20 to positive 20. So basically you split the class up into 2 teams. You ask a review question. So, what can you tell me about Charlemagne? And, a kid raises their hand, and then if they get it right, then they get to come pick a foot off the board You can also just use sticky notes if you don't want to print these. And they look at the other side, oh, it's negative, it's stinky. So then you can have a parent keeping score, and for their team, they get -5. And also you can have them take off their shoes if you want to make it even more fun since they got a stinky one, or you don't have to do that. But then by the end, you can have the parent total the score, and you can decide if the winner will be the team with the largest score or smallest score. Maybe if you did this last week, you could switch it up and make the winner the team with the lowest score if you did the biggest score last time. So just a really fun way to review. It ends when all the feet are off the board or when you just decide to end. But I'm going to play that again because it's really fun. Also, don't forget about these resources you can get to use at home with your kids if you want. This Cycle 2 Memory Work Activity Book, this European countries workbook, and the passport, and the placemats that I mentioned. So check those out in my shop. I will link that below. All right, like I promised, I want to share with you the free games you can download to play with your kids this week. So the first one, science game, Consumers, Producers, and Decomposers. It's a dominoes game. So for example, like this card, you would look at the word consumer and you would find a consumer picture and match the picture to the word like so. And then you would have to find a picture of a decomposer to match here. A giraffe is a consumer, so you would have to find another word consumer to match with the giraffe, etc. So just a fun way to review what those words mean. Also, I have this Latin bingo game. I've showed this before. This has all the Latin noun endings from the whole year. So this is just a great way to review all the Latin. I have 7 different bingo boards and calling cards that go with it. And then this game is not free just because it's taken me a lot of time to create, but I'm excited to offer it to you. This is a game you could play for several weeks because it's the pronouns. So I made these little cards that say what type of pronoun it is and then use the pronoun in a sentence with a picture that kind of relates and shows what it means. And so you can use these as flashcards or you can use them to play memory with your kids, but these have all the pronouns that we learned from weeks 4 through week 13. So lots of cards, lots of things you could do with them. So I will link these. These are in my shop. You can check them out if you want to use them with your kids. And I will link the free games too, obviously, down the description so you can grab those to play with your kids too. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these ideas are helpful for you. If you are enjoying my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I'm posting at least 1 video per week with tutor ideas and other things. Sometimes I just post about generic homeschooling tips and helpful things that I've learned, healthy recipes. Our family's really passionate about healthy living and learning about more of that. And also check out my Instagram. I like to post what I do with my kids throughout the homeschooling week on there, and sometimes just spontaneous resources that I end up making that you can use too. And check out my blog where I have my shop with the resources I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and I have a resource library with lots of free resources as well, including the games that I shared just a few minutes ago. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.